As a journalist, you contribute to The Guardian and the Independent newspaper. And in one of your newspaper articles in November 2003, you went to Istanbul to report on the bomb attacks. And you described in a very detailed way how family members of yours, how friends accidentally escaped from the bombs. So how did you feel when you had to write in such disastrous conditions in a country that you would call your home, where you have all the memories of your youth?
Well, the story actually starts here at Warwick, because I can't remember what day of the week it was, whether it was a Wednesday or a Thursday, but it was, my teaching week had finished. It was 5 o'clock at night. I was in the car, it was raining. I turned on the news. So I was just waiting on Gibbet Hill Road, to go out. And the first thing on the news was, the sound of the explosion. That was on the news, and then they explained where they, where the bombs were, and I couldn't, I didn't know what, I couldn't get out of the traffic. I wanted to call. I knew that these bombs were going off where, where some of my relatives lived, or where they would pass through on a normal day, and it took me about an hour. To get through to them, but during that time I just thought the worst. And then of course I watched all of the coverage on television. So it's this bizarre thing of seeing, where places that are part of your home landscape, and then they're suddenly on the news, and half of them are, buildings are blown up and so on and so forth. And then the Guardian asked me to go, and so I just went. I think I went the next day. And went down there, and that was quite a lesson, because on that occasion and on several other occasions I found out how theatrical news coverage is, because I felt more scared when I was on Gibbet Hill Road than I did when I got there, because a city is very, very big, because there's a wonderful tradition in Istanbul, as there is in so many other places that have to live with shaky ground and shaky politics, of carrying on with life, and carrying on with life collectively, so that the passage that had been half blown up by one of those bombs, the other half was still operating. You see, you'd see these mangled sort of shells of shops that I knew so well from my childhood, and then you see the other ones that were carrying on. And there's a flower market that's very close to there, and people made a point of going to those shops. It was kind of this is the resistance of people who want to live and carry on, and it was very, very important. And so that felt like a much better thing to do than sit in front of a television screen very, very far away. And yeah, so I feel like by going there, I got over it. But the other thing that had quite upset me when I was getting ready to go to Istanbul, other people would call me up and say, "Is everybody okay?" And they'd say, "So I guess you're not going to go there anymore, and I guess your family's going to leave." And they've been there for almost 50 years, and this idea that we didn't leave London because there were terrorist attacks, and so what is that? And so when I went back and actually when I sat down to write about it, I just wanted to give it a sense of what it's like to have this this thing happen, and how people carry on, and how they do carry on. So I was trying to tell a different story than the story people might have been getting from television and radio, where it's this kind of horrendous stuff, and then it's over. The cameras leave, and nobody asks a question about it abroad again, and it's just Istanbul seems to be this disaster zone. Yeah, forget about it. I don't want anybody to forget about it.
Mm-hmm. Maureen, final question. So what are you going to do over the holidays? Any exciting plans?
I will go home and I will do the laundry, as I do every weekend because I live in a different part of the country, and then I'll pack my bags and go to Istanbul, where I'm going to be working on a Radio 4 documentary about a group of about Harold Pinter and Arthur Miller going to Turkey in the aftermath of a very brutal coup in the 80s to support writers there and publicize their plight. It's quite an interesting story.
That's interesting, yeah.
And I'll be able to interview a lot of people who showed them around and who argued with them and who sort of educated them and who kind of changed their ideas about a lot of things. So it's kind of a key moment in the kind of in free expression and the kind of tradition of that. And I'll also see my parents, who still live on the campus of that university I was telling you about. And then I'll come back and I'll try to remember what my new novel is about. I think I remember what it is, but we'll see.
We will wait. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What I find very fascinating about Maureen is that both as a translator and a writer, she's able to express her special relationship to Turkey in a literary way. She knows the very subtle contradictions of contemporary Turkey, the strange and yet exciting interface between Istanbul's Asian and westernized parts, which she, for example, explores in Enlightenment. Living in the UK and writing about critical topics of Turkey shows that with her writing, Maureen certainly has a voice abroad. So before saying goodbye and passing on this microphone to the man standing behind the camera, I just want to say that with this feature, a journey is coming to an end for me. About a year ago, I came to England to spend my year abroad, and I have to say this year has been fascinating for me in many ways, especially because of the truly interesting people that I met here. Every encounter with each author has been inspiring, hopefully not only for me, but also for you. The Irish author Colin Tobin, the Guatemalan writer Francisca Goldman, the Colombian novelist Juan Gabriel Vasquez, the journalist and writer John Lee Anderson, and last but not least, of course, Maureen Freely. So thank you, Warwick. I'm going back to Germany now with lots of new experiences. Goodbye, England. I had a great time. Thanks for watching. I've been Yaena Kwon, and you've been watching Warwick TV.